Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today, after a year of not posting, I am doing a reading wrap up of basically all of the books I read in July and maybe some that I read in August. So it's been a year now and I haven't been posting any videos, mainly because I was in college and I was busy, and this summer I was like, oh, maybe I'll start making these videos again. I tried filming this video a couple times in the past month, was not able to do it, have completely forgotten how to talk to a camera, and wasn't interested in making a video until this very instant. So today we are doing a July wrap-up. Yeah, enjoy. Okay, so the first book that I read in July was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This was a pretty disappointing read for me. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, and originally when I read this book a while ago, it was maybe 2 years ago, I had given this book 5 out of 5 stars and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so fun and just a really good romance book, and it was one of the first romances that I had read, so I really hadn't gotten into any other romances, but I really enjoyed this one. But when I read it this time, I just did not like it. I don't know why. I think it was because I'm not really vibing with Helen Huang's writing recently. I read The Kiss Principle. Not The Kiss Principle. The Heart Principle. I read The Heart Principle by Helen Huang, which is her third book in the same world as The Kiss Quotient, and I didn't really enjoy that one. I thought it wasn't what I was expecting from a romance. I think it was a little bit more literary fiction for me than romance, and it felt more sad than what I wanted from a fluffy romance book. So I think it was me just not being met with the expectations that I wanted from a romance book. But with this one, it was just genuinely the writing. I thought it was too long, and what I did enjoy about the book was the family dynamics and just the idea of their relationship, but the writing in general just wasn't interesting to me, and I wasn't able to finish the book really quickly, or I was interested in reading it or picking it up. It took me a while to read this because the entire time I was just trying to get to the end so I could finish the book, not really enjoying any of the experience of reading it. So that's that. I will say though that my favorite part of this book is the family dynamics. I love the parts whenever Stella and Michael are going to Michael's house and eating food and enjoying time with their family, and the introduction to the siblings and stuff, and the family members. I think there's a mom and then there's a grandma, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember it fully, but those moments I really liked and I really enjoyed. But the actual love story part, I don't know about it. I don't know if I'll be ever reading a Helen Huang again because her books have been letting me down recently, but maybe I'll try it again. We'll see. But yeah, first book. Okay. Next one I read was Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. So I read this because I was on a trip to Yellowstone, and during my trip to Yellowstone, this is one of the books that I took along with me. I was just feeling a YA kind of time. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I was just feeling reading a bunch of YA, and this kind of started my journey into a bunch of other YA that I picked up from the library that I'll be talking about. But I was just feeling reading a YA coming of age novel, and this is the first one that I picked up, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a pretty fun time. I think I really like both John Green and Hank Green's writing a lot, and I just vibe so much with the way that they write and the things that they write about. This one makes me feel a lot of existential dread, but in the best way possible, and I think that's what John Green excels at. And it was just really funny because I had forgotten how much of that is in John Green's books. I remember Also, this copy is signed, which makes me feel super special and cool. But, where is it? Oh, okay. There was like a line on page 2 that really made me remember how John Green's writing is, and it just got me excited to continue reading. It was on page 2. It says, I thought about how we all believed ourselves to be the hero of some personal epic, when in fact we were basically identical organisms colonizing a vast and windowless room that smelled of Lysol and lard. And then my comment on the side was, I forgot how existential John Green is. Yeah, he's just like, he makes you feel so small in this world, and he reminds me of the universe. Like, every time I'm reading his book, I'm like, oh my god, like, I am not the only being on this earth. Like, it sounds stupid to say, but it's like, there's, like, could possibly be aliens, and like, there could possibly be other people living in this universe that aren't just human beings on earth, and he just reminds me of that a lot, and I kind of appreciate it. Like, I feel like it's really interesting to read. It makes me think a lot, and although that wasn't like the centering of what this book was about, the central point of what this book was about, it was still very interesting to read some of that like existential feelings and thoughts that John Green has on a regular basis. Yeah, I really enjoy this. I also really like the cover. I think the cover is fantastic. Okay. Next book I read was The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This was a book I read because of Books with Chloe on YouTube. I love Chloe's videos, and I love her romance reads and just her romance readathons that she does. So I thought I would pick this up because of her. And I was feeling like I needed some of that like romance happiness that I was hoping for in the Kiss Quotient that I didn't really get. So I thought I would pick up this book, and I think I got a lot of that like little cute little moment happiness that I really wanted. I also read this I think I read it on my trip. No, I didn't. I was actually on a trip to Alaska in June that I started this book, and I read like 50 pages, and then I only picked it up in the middle of July because I really wanted to get to it and finish it and see what all the hype was about and why Chloe loved it so much. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Is that correct? Yes. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun little romance. Very fluffy, very cute. Just a good time. I can't really say much for this book. Like, honestly, it wasn't something that I would reread, but it was enjoyable for when I wanted to be reading it, is what I'll say. I really liked Aaron as the male main character. He was very cool. He was very cute in this book. What I didn't enjoy though was the pacing of when Aaron decided that he suddenly liked Elena, cause like, I guess that's not a spoiler because obviously it's a romance, but it was just a little bit weird how the pacing of the book was like, oh my god, these are like enemies, and then wow, they're lovers now. Like, the little switch in between was really quick, and I feel like it wasn't talked about enough or like thought through enough. But I didn't mind it because I really enjoyed the cute moments that they had, but at the same time I just wish that the explanation for why they're suddenly in love with each other was a little bit better. The next book that I read was Love Somebody by Rachel Rosick. So this is a YA like romance coming of age novel. It's basically about these 3 people and their like little romantic relationship that occurs in between the 3 of them, like not together all 3 of them, but like one person likes this person, and then they like that person, and then that person likes this person, like it's like kind of a love triangle is what I'm trying to say. And it also has some like it reminds me of The Half of It, which is a Netflix movie. Um, and the same idea of like the girl writing letters for the guy who's interested in another girl, very similarly, but like kind of different in this one where it's more text messages and phone calls than it is letters that are physically written. But it was really cute. I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time, and I honestly realized that I love texting in books. Like when YA books have a bunch of texting, I just freaking love reading that, because I think that's my like favorite thing ever is, I don't know, just like reading a bunch of books where there's texting, because first off, the book goes by faster, and I feel like that's such a regular thing. Like majority of, I feel like younger people's, like my own, like relationships, like with people, like friendships and stuff, like happen also over texting as much as they happen in person. Like I'll text someone as if I'm having a conversation, with them, just like I'm having one in person. You know this. So like I just loved that texting was a part of it, because I felt like that's such a regular and necessary part of a person's life now, and it's really important to include things like that in literature, because that's just how we communicate now. So it was important, and I enjoy it. And it was also something that I saw in the other 2 YA books that I read. So the next book that I read was I'll Be the One by Lila Lee. I'm looking over here because I have a little reading journal filled with what books I read. And yeah, so I read this book about a girl who wants to become a K-pop star, and I was really interested in reading this because I'm obsessed with K-pop right now. I'm like going to people's concerts. I recently went to a TXT concert and a BTS concert last year, I think was when I went to it, and they've been really fun, and I'm properly a fan of a lot of K-pop now. I'm currently getting into 17 and loving all of their music and loving all of the members, and I wanted something to read about K-pop, and I thought this would be the book for me, and it was. So I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was literally so good, and as much as I'm talking about the K-pop element, that wasn't my favorite part of it. Like, I loved it, and I thought it was really well done, but my favorite part was the main character's confidence. I haven't read a book in a long time that really starts whenever that person has already like gone through the motions of feeling insecure, and at this point they're just trying to be confident with themselves, and it's the people around them that are stopping this confidence or trying to hinder their confidence about themselves. And I've never read a book where it starts in the middle basically and not at the beginning of someone's journey dealing with insecurities about their weight. And I really loved it for that reason, because I related to it, and then I also just felt like I liked watching her confidence grow, but then also like be hindered by people, but then her not letting that stop her from living her dream and wanting to be a K-pop star regardless of what people told her about her weight. So I really freaking love that. I left the book like so in awe and so impressed by the main character and how she was able to deal with so many people that were just being so rude to her and telling her that she wasn't good enough because she's fat. I also enjoyed that like the word fat wasn't used in a negative connotation. It was used in a positive way. Like she was like, yeah, I'm fat, whatever, who cares? Like, just, you gotta live with it. Like, that was really awesome to me. And I think I have a new perspective on like an insecurity dealing with weight now because of that book. And I'm thankful for that book, for giving that to me. Okay. The next book that I read was Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. Okay, I'm super excited about talking about this one because Nicola Yoon is one of my favorite authors to ever exist. She's amazing. I read, I think, all of her books. She's written Everything, and The Sun is Also a Star, which I just recently picked up from the used bookstore, and I have now read Instructions for Dancing, and I hadn't read this book for so long, even though it had come out so long ago, and I'm so excited that I picked it up now, because I freaking loved it. It's just so good. I think Nicola Yoon is so good at writing fast-paced, like, romance, but also coming-of-age books, and she's just so good at writing these books, and I feel like she just gets straight to the point. Like, I don't know how else to explain her besides she is the definition of quality over quantity. She would rather write an amazing book in less words than more words, and I think she does that so well. And I loved it so much. It was just the perfect little, like, coming of age book I needed with romance put in there. And it was YA, which was what I was also looking for, and I loved it. Nicola Yoon just never fails to impress me with her books, and I'm just excited for when she writes more. I'm gonna see if she has any more backlists that I can read, because honestly, her books are just so good, and now I need to get a physical copy of the book because I read it from the library and I need one that I can read again and annotate because it was so good. There's also a bit of magical realism in this book that I really loved. I don't want to give anything away besides that, but like, I think it was a really enjoyable read for that reason as well. So I will be reading more Nicola Yoon in the future. Okay, the next book that I read was also, that book was a 5-star read, if I didn't mention. The next book that I read was The Rise of Kiyoshi by F.C. Yee with Avatar co-creator Michael Dante DiMartino. Wow, what a freaking surprising book. I was reading this mainly because I had it on my shelves for a while now, and I had been wanting to read it because I got so many recommendations from my friends to read this book. Also, it's like annotated so much, and I hadn't picked it up for a while, like about a year I think, and I just wanted to give it a shot. I was feeling very much in the Avatar mood. I've been in a reading slump recently, and because of the reading slump I haven't been really able to be reading too many like books, or like books I want to be reading, which are mainly like fantasy books, and I've been like leaning towards some easier reads, I would say, like some YA, and just some reads that I don't have to focus too much of my brain on, which isn't to say these books are like easier to read. I don't know how to explain it. I just think that they're easier to read than a lot of high fantasy that I've been wanting to read, so I thought this would be a good mixture of the YA that I was looking for and also a fantasy read, so I could start my journey back into YA a little bit after my freaking reading slump. So I read this, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. It was such a surprising read too. I feel like you should go into this book not knowing anything besides what the TV show has given you. I think knowing any more really just like spoils the book in a way, because the direction that this book took from the very beginning was so different than what I expected. And I really also enjoyed that it took all of the like dark nature of Kiyoshi's Avatar era and like threw it into this book right from the beginning, because I think that was a really important part of what we learned in the Avatar The Last Airbender TV show, and I'm glad that it was also brought into this book and it wasn't just like a rerun of Avatar The Last Airbender but through Kiyoshi. Also, Kiyoshi is just a freaking girl boss and I love her so much. She was so cool in this book and she just is amazing, and I loved her character arc and just the growing that she had to do through this book, because in this one she starts as a young girl. I think she's like 16 or something in this, and we get to see the beginning parts of her Avatar era, I guess. And yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. I love this. I don't really have anything else to say. Okay. The next book I read was The Girl Who Drank the Moon by, who is this by? Kelly Barnhill? Yes. The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I got this book from a used bookstore in my library, so I don't have the actual cover for it because it didn't come with the cover. But it was like 50 cents or like $1, so I had to get it. And I have been wanting to read this book for so long. Also, I tried to paint this in with white gel pen, and it worked, but the second after I painted it, I touched it with my finger and I spread around the paint, so it's a little bit messy, but I don't mind because I think it looks cool. Also, on the back I wrote some of my favorite quotes because I wanted to. There is this TikToker or book talker, Books with Smee, and I love their videos, and in their videos they write on their books with white gel pen, and I was like, why don't I do that? So I did it, and I didn't do it on the front because I don't actually know why, but I did it on the back. I thought it looked super cool, so I think I'm gonna start doing that with my hardcovers. I'm gonna start writing some of my favorite quotes on the back or the front of it because I don't know, I kind of like it, and I like to go read the quotes back and like get excited about the book again if I ever want to reread it. But about the book, it was great. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Did I give it a 4 out of 5 stars? No, I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. But I would honestly say it was kind of more like a 4 out of 5 stars because I really did enjoy this, and I thought it was I think this is a middle school level book, so I thought it was a great middle grade story about a girl who drank the moon. And it was a really fun time. I honestly can't remember a lot of this book. I think like saying anything about this book is also a spoiler, so I don't want to give too much away, but I really loved the character relationships in this book, and the overall magic story and magic system was also very great. This book is also very beautifully written, and I think like if I was more of a literary genius, I could have analyzed the shit out of this and really gotten a lot out of it, because I think this book has a lot of metaphor and other literary devices that I really didn't understand as much, but it's also very readable for basically anyone. So yeah, that was great. I loved it. I don't think I have much else to say about this book besides I think everyone should read it, and I think it's a very good way, if you're in a reading slump, to get out of the reading slump by reading some fantasy, and this is like a lot lighter fantasy than what some bigger high fantasies are, so I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the characters a lot, so I would recommend. 5 out of 5 stars. Okay. I have finished with all of my July reads. I think I'm going to talk about 3 other books that I've read in August as of right now. August has been a really good reading month for me. It's only the 8th and I've read 3 books. And I've just been like really just reading and reading and reading. I started off August just like in a library reading for like 3 hours, and then I just kept on going and I haven't stopped since then. First book I read in August was The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. Picked this up from Barnes & Noble's. Look at this cover. I think it's beautiful. Look at the spine. I also think it's beautiful. Look at all these tabs. I also think that's beautiful. Yeah, so first off, I feel like I need to talk about the cover a little bit more because I really appreciate good book covers, and I freaking love this cover. Oh my gosh. So usually when I buy books, I never ever buy the movie poster cover of books. Like, I think they're so tacky and I don't think they're ever well done, but this one is so pretty. I just think this is so beautiful, and it gives me the exact vibes of what the book is. Also, this is like embossed white title stuff. The Jenny Han part is not embossed, but like the title is, and it just looks so cool. Especially like it looks just like a freaking like photo, but like a book. I love it. Okay, I think this is a really good movie poster book adaptation type thing. Also, the bright colors on this spine are just amazing. I'm obsessed is what I'm gonna say. And yeah, So I picked this up because I had watched the TV show and it was amazing. I love the TV show. I thought it was a really fun time. Summer vibes of this book were just a good time. And I wanted some pure happiness, and I think I got it from this book. Yeah, it's the focus of it is not really the fact that she turned pretty. Like, I get that that's a cool title to call this, but like I feel like that is a little problematic, so I didn't really enjoy that portion of it, of her like losing her glasses and her braces and suddenly becoming this like god of a woman. Like, no, everyone's pretty in their own way and you can wear glasses and still be pretty. Like, I didn't enjoy that. But also on the back it says some summers are just destined to be pretty. Interesting. But I really enjoyed like the just fun, fluffy summer vibes of this book. I don't know if I'm going to be reading the rest of them because I've heard the second book and the third book are not as good, but I just wanted to read this because I had watched the TV show and I enjoyed the TV show, so I thought I would give this a try, and I ended up enjoying it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a fun time. I think I liked it more because I had already watched the TV show. So I am the opposite of, I feel like, the majority of people, where I like watching the shows and the movies before I read the book, because then I can picture everyone in my head perfectly because I know them from the movies, and I'm not really like that interested in like coming up with people's images if there's already a TV show. Like, I'd rather just know how they look in the movie and not have like expectations for how they look and then read the book first and then suddenly be like, oh my gosh, they look different than what I thought they would look like. Like, I'd rather just know. So I really like that, and I feel like I'm watching the TV show as I'm reading the book when I was reading this. So really enjoyed it. Also, the book is like very different. I don't know if the second and third book have more things similar to the TV show, but this has like different timelines in it, and the movie or the TV show doesn't really do the different timelines things as much, I think, as I remember. I don't know if I'm making sense, but enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 stars. This cover, 10 out of 10. Okay. The next 2 books are some of my favorite books. I feel like I should talk about the last book that I read in August before I talk about the second one, or the third book, I guess. I want to save the last one because it was just so good. So, the third book I read in August, and my most recent read, is The Shadow of Kiyoshi by FCE with Avatar co-creator Michael Dante DiMartino. 5 out of 5 stars. Oh my god, I love this. Just the vibes and the fun and the characters and just everything was awesome. I loved it so much. I love Kiyoshi, girl boss. I love I forgot her name, but girl boss. Just so cool. I love this so much. Also, this cover is amazing. So red. I also wrote some quotes on the back of the book if you want to see. Yeah, I did that again. And I don't really have much to say about this book. I would just give it a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it so much. Oh my gosh. Okay. The last book that I want to talk about is one of my favorite books now of all time because it is just so good. So, I picked this book up in the library and I had seen it like sitting on the new books shelf, or like the like cool read, I don't know, some shelf that was like, ooh, read these books. And I picked it up multiple times and I was like, no, I don't really want to read it. It has a weird format. I don't think I want to read a book like this, because I like don't want to read a book that's also a script. So I was like, no, I'm not going to read it. And then I came back to the library and I was like, okay, let me just pick it up. So I sat down and I read the book, and I sat there for 2 freaking hours reading the book until I got halfway through and I had read like 150 pages because it was just so good. And that book is Interior China by Charles Yu. So this is one of my favorite books of all time. By weird formatting, I mean that it's in kind of script form. It's in book form, but it's like kind of in script form as well. Like, I can't even, I don't even know how to explain it properly, but basically, to explain why I like it so much. So, this book is a satire on Hollywood and the Hollywood film industry and how they treat Asian people and how they treat just POCs in general. And I relate to this book and I understand this book on a crazy level because I am a film student right now who is currently in film school trying to make my way into the film industry. And reading this book, I was like, wow, like, this is how I see the movie industry now, and this is how I feel about it. Because Interior Chinatown basically talks about a man, Willis Wu, who is trying to become an actor in the Hollywood film industry, and he feels stuck and he feels that he's not moving up, and it's really hard to get to where he wants to be as this big actor. And he calls the like top tier actor for himself the Kung Fu Man, and he says he's stuck at the generic Asian man character level. And just like those terms being used and stuff was really, really like eye-opening to what the film industry is like, and also just like very relatable to how I see the film industry, because like sometimes to me it feels like the film industry is very much not as diverse. Obviously it's very white and it's not as like accepting or like interested in making like Asian people bigger stars. And Willis Wu in this book is basically talking about how he is constantly cast as this generic Asian man character who then suddenly like dies, and then he's like taken off of the show because he dies in the TV show. And like how, and it's basically talking about how like POCs are just used as those like generic POC characters, or those generic like side characters who die off, or they like don't really get a big part in the movie, or like they don't get a big part in the TV show, and they're just kind of there to reach that diversity quota, but they don't actually get a bigger role in the film to get as popular as white movie stars do. It's that, and it's also about the assimilation of Asian Americans into American society. Amazing. I love this book so much. I feel like I can't explain it properly because I feel like you have to read it to understand, which is what I say to all of the books. I just don't like giving summaries. But it's really good, and it talks about, or it explores themes of pop culture, assimilation, and immigration. Charles Yu's most moving, daring, and masterful novel yet. I agree with all of those words. I wish I could explain this in smarter words, but I just do not have the bandwidth for that. So, this is what you're getting. 5 out of 5 stars. One of my favorite books of all time. If there was, like, this is how I feel about the Hollywood film industry in a book, and more in a book. It's just so good. And this cover is 10 out of 10 amazing. I love it. And yeah. Okay. That's about it. Okay. So, those are all the books that I've been reading recently. A book that I'm reading currently is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I'm doing a reread of this book. It's just as good as it was the first time. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars the first time. I will probably be giving it a 5 out of 5 stars this time as well. It's so good. This is me attempting to finally read the rest of Brandon Sanderson's books by starting off with the reread. Also, through my reading journey, I was finally able to get to reading a high fantasy book. Although this is a reread, I'm trying and attempting to get out of this high fantasy reading slump. And this is really helping. So, that's about it for today's video. Yeah, those are all the books that I read this was really fun. I enjoyed talking to a camera again. So hopefully I will be posting this video and coming out with more. That's about it. That's all I got. Alright. Goodbye.